Hello and welcome to the English YouTuber. In today's video, we're going to look at the line-by-line explanation of the short story, The Girl Who Can, which is written by Ata Aidoo. They say that I was born in Hazardzi, and it is a very big village in the central region of our country, Ghana. They also say that when all of Africa is not choking under a drought, Hazardzi lies in a very fertile lowland in a district known for its good soil. The protagonist in the story is Adjoa, and she lives in a very big village called Hazardzi, which is in Ghana. So she says when Africa is not under a drought, because many a times Africa faces drought and famine. Drought means there isn't much water or there is water scarcity. So when Africa is not under a drought, Hazardzi lies in a very fertile lowland in a district known for its good soil. There is good soil and the land is fertile, so you can grow crops there. Maybe that is why anytime I don't finish eating my food, Nana says, "You Adjoa, you don't know what life is about. You don't know what problems there are in this life." Nana, that means her grandmother, her maternal grandmother says, because we live in a fertile land, you don't even know what problems that grapple us, such as water shortage, food scarcity, and also extreme weather conditions. As far as I could see, there was only one problem, and it had nothing to do with what I knew Nana considered as problems. She said, I consider only one thing as problem, and that is not what Nana thinks is the problem, or what Mommy thinks as is the problem, or what my mother thinks is the problem. My problem is something totally different. Mommy is my mother and Nana is my mother's mother. So mother's mother is called a maternal grandmother. And they say I am 7 years old. So the protagonist Adjoa is 7 years old. And my problem is that at this 7 years of age, there are things I can think in my head, but which maybe I don't have the proper language to speak them out with. So she's saying that I have thoughts in my head, but I am not able to articulate that thoughts into words. And that I think is a very serious problem. So this could be a question. What does Adjoa think is a very serious problem? The problem that she can think in her head but does not have the proper language to speak it out. But it is always difficult to decide whether to keep quiet and not say any of the things that come into my head or say them and get laughed at. So she's saying I'm indecisive. Indecisive means I cannot make a decision whether to speak out and get laughed at or just to keep quiet. Not that it is easy to get any grown up to listen to you, even when you decide to take the risk and say something serious to them. So that is another problem, that they don't listen to you. Take Nana. First, I have to struggle to catch her attention. Now she's talking about the difficulties that she faces while she has to talk to her grandmother. First is she has to struggle to catch her attention. Then I tell her something I had taken a long time to figure out. So after finally taking a long time to figure out what to say and how to articulate it, and then you know what always happens? She would once stop whatever she's doing, mouth open, stare at me for a very long time, then bending and turning her head slightly so that one ear comes down towards me. She'll say in that voice, "Adjoa, you say what?" After I have repeated whatever I had said, she would either sit in that voice, ask, "Never, never, but never to repeat that," or she would immediately burst out laughing. She would laugh and laugh and laugh. So here Adjoa is saying that once she takes up the courage to actually share with her grandmother, then her grandmother dismisses what she's saying and says to never repeat what she has said, or she would laugh at her. So she wouldn't take whatever Ajwa says seriously until tears ran down her cheeks and she would stop whatever she's doing and wipe away the tears with the hanging edge of her cloth. So she would laugh until tears would come out, and she would continue laughing until she's completely tired. But then, as soon as another person comes by, just to make sure she doesn't forget whatever it was I had said, she would repeat it to her. And then, of course, there would be two people laughing and screaming with tears running down her face. Sometimes this show continued until there are three or four, even more of such laughing and screaming, tear faced grown ups. So when Adjoa would try to say something important or serious, she would be left as a laughing stock, totally humiliated when people would laugh at her and make it seem like her thoughts are silly or stupid. And all that performance and whatever I had said, I find something quite confusing in all of this. This is no one, that is, no one ever explained to me why sometimes I shouldn't repeat some things I say, while at other times, some other things I say would not only be alright but would be considered so funny that it would be repeated so many times for so many people's enjoyment. You see how neither way of hearing me out can encourage me to express my thoughts too often. So here she says that she is confused or bewildered whether to speak or not and what to speak, because sometimes she is asked to never utter the word, or otherwise people would consider it so funny that they would laugh at it for hours. Like all this business to do with my legs, I have always wanted to tell them not to worry. So she's saying that her family members worry because of her legs. I mean, Nana and my mother, that it did not have to be an issue for my two favorite people to fight over. So, what did Nana and Mommy fight over? At Joa's legs. But I didn't want either to be told not to repeat that, or it to be considered so funny that anyone would laugh at me until they cried. After all, they were my legs. When I think back on it now, those two, Nana and my mother, must have been discussing my legs from the day I was born. So she's saying this topic is repeated umpteen number of times that I think they would have started this discussion the day I was born. What I'm sure of is that when I came out of the land of sweet, soft silence, so which is the land of sweet, soft silence? The womb of a mother, into the world of noise and comprehension. So, into this world, the first topic I met was my legs. So this was the first topic of discussion as soon as I was born. That discussion was repeated very regularly. Nana said, you know Kaya? So, Kaya is the mother's name. I thank my God that your very first child is a female. So she's happy that it is a female child. She doesn't have a problem with that. But Kaya, I'm not sure about her legs. So she is disapproving the legs of Adjoa. And Nana would shake her head. So this shows that she isn't happy. Mommy would say, Mother, why are you always complaining about Adjoa's legs? If you ask me, Nana, they're too thin and I'm not asking you. So here, Nana isn't even allowing Mommy to express herself fully and cutting her sentences. Nana has many voices. There is a special one she uses to shut everyone up. Some people have no legs at all. My mother would try again with all her small courage. So she's saying we have to be optimists. At least she has legs. There are people who don't even have legs, unfortunately. But Ajwa has legs, Nana would insist. Except that they are too thin and also too long for a woman. So, what are the true problems that Nana thinks about Ajwa's leg? One is they are too thin, and other is it's too long for a woman. Kaya, listen. Once in a while, but only once in a very long while, somebody decides, nature, a child's spirit mother, An accident happens and somebody gets born without arms or legs or both set of limbs. And then let me touch wood, it is a sad business. You're saying rarely does it happen that sometimes people are born with disabilities. So Nana saying once in a while it does happen that sometimes children are born with physical disabilities and it is a very sad business. And such things are not for talking about every day. But if any female child decides to come into the world with legs, then they might have been well be legs. She's saying if a child decides to come with legs, then it better be a good set of legs, not these spindly legs that Adjoa has been born with. What kind of legs? And always at that point, I knew from her voice that my mother was weeping inside. So her mother was really sad. Nana never heard such inside weeping. Not that it would have stopped Nana ever if she had heard it, which always surprised me. Because about almost everything else apart from my leg, Nana is such a good grown up. Nana is a wonderful person otherwise, except for when it comes to the topic of my leg. In any case, what do I know about good grown ups and bad grown ups? How could Nana be a good grown up when she carries on so about my legs? All I want to say is that I really like Nana except for that. So she's saying, I'm too young to judge about which grown up is good or bad. But all that I really want to say is I like Nana except for when the topic of my leg appears. Nana, as I kept saying, if any woman decides to come into this world with all of her two legs, then she should select legs that have meat on them. So that should have meat with good carbs. Saying the legs should not be spindly, but they should be full of flesh on it. So that her legs would be strong enough to support solid hips, which is imperative to be able to have children. So she's saying women should have fleshy legs so that it can support strong hips, which in turn is needed to have babies, which is the primary duty of a woman to bear children. Oh, mother. That's how my mother would answer, very, very quietly. And the discussion would end or they would move on to something else. So there's nothing her mother would be able to say. Sometimes Nana would pull in something about my father. How, looking at such a man, we have to be humble and admit that after all, God's children are many. How, after one's only daughter had insisted on marrying a man like this, so she's saying that you decided you are my only daughter and you insisted on marrying a man like that, and you still have to thank God that the biggest problem you got later was having a granddaughter with spindly legs that are too long for women and too thin to be of any use. So she's belittling the husband of Kaya, the mother, and saying that we have to actually thank God because the biggest problem after marrying him and having a child is this and not anything else. So that is how the grandmother would make the mother shut up by talking about the husband. The way she always added that bit about my father under her breath, she probably thought I didn't hear it, but I always heard it. Plus, that is what always shut my mother up for good. So that even if I had not actually heard the words, once my mother looked like even her little courage was finished, I could always guess what Nana had added to the argument. So, this was the weapon that Nana used to end the discussion and win over the discussion. That is, talk about the father. Legs that have meat on them with good calves to support solid hips to be able to have children. So I wished that one day I would see for myself the legs of any woman who had children. So Adjoa was curious, or another word is inquisitive. She wanted to see the legs of any woman who had children. But in our village, that is not easy. So why it isn't easy for Adjoa to see the legs of women that have given birth? The older women wear long wraparounds around all the time. So they wear long wraparounds which hide their legs. Perhaps if they let me go bathe in the river in the evening, I could have checked. But I never had the chance. And also, she never had the chance to go to the river and see the women there so that she could check out their legs. It took a lot of begging just to get my mother and Nana to let me go splash around in the shallow end of the river with my friends, who were other little girls like me. For proper baths, we used the small bathhouse behind our hut. Therefore, the only naked female legs I have ever really seen are those of other little girls like me. So she hasn't seen the legs of any adult or older girls in the school. And those of my mother and Nana, two pairs of legs, which must surely belong to the approved kind because they never complained about their legs. Because Nana gave birth to my mother and my mother gave birth to me. So if they could have given birth, then that means their legs were of the approved kind. In my eyes, all my friends have got legs that look just like mine. But whether the legs have got meat on them to support the kind of hips that I don't know. So she's saying, I don't know what exactly or what kind of legs that they mean because even the people of my age, the children of my age also have similar legs. According to the older boys and girls, the distance between our little village and the small town is about 5 kilometers. So she walked 5 kilometers. I don't know what 5 kilometers mean. They always complain about how long it is to walk to school and back. So they have to walk around 10 kilometers a day. But to me, we live in our village and walking those kilometers didn't matter. School is nice. So she enjoyed school and she did not think that walking 10 kilometers was tiring. School is another thing. So another topic of discussion in the household was school. Nana and my mother discussed often and appeared to have different ideas about. Nana thought it wouldn't be a waste of time. So Nana thought it is imperative to have education and it is not a waste of time. Nana thought it would be a waste of time. So Nana thought that education is a waste of time. I never understood what she meant. My mother seemed to know and disagreed. She kept telling Nana that she, that is my mother, felt she was locked into some kind of darkness because she did not go to school. So her mother felt like she was in total darkness and she missed out on something in life because she did not have education and therefore she thought it is imperative for Adjoa to go to school and learn because she did not want her daughter to also be in darkness. So that if I, her daughter, could learn to write and read my own name and a little besides, perhaps be able to calculate some things on paper, that would be good. I could always marry later and maybe. So, here, if you see, you would know that Nana has a very traditional mindset that education is a waste of time and anyway women just have to marry and stay indoors. But her mother wants her to have more opportunities in her life and think that it is necessary to have education. Running with our classmates on our small sports field and winning first place each time never seemed to me to be anything about which to tell anyone at home. So she did not think it was a big deal to let her family know that she was winning first place each time. This time it was different. So this time she felt that she has to let them know. I don't know how the teachers decided to let me run for the junior section of her school in the district games, but they did. So they chose her to represent in the district games. When I went home to tell my mother and Nana, they had not believed it at first. So Nana had to take it up upon herself to go and ask into it properly. She came home to tell my mother that it was really true. So Nana and her mother, they were in disbelief that she was chosen to in the district games. and I was one of my school's runners. Is that so? Exclaimed my mother. I know her. Her mouth moved as though she was going to tell Nana that after all, there was a secret about me she couldn't expect to share with anyone. But then Nana herself looked so pleased. Out of surprise, my mother shut her mouth up. So here, Nana actually looked pleased, which took Adjoa by surprise because Nana has always criticized Adjoa about her legs. In my case, since the first time they heard the news, I have often caught Nana staring at my legs with a strange look on her face, but still pretending like she was not looking. So Nana was taken aback. She was in shock, saying, these legs actually helped her run fast. All this week, she had been washing my school uniform herself. That is a big surprise. And she didn't stop at that. She even went to Mr. Mensah's house and borrowed his charcoal pressing iron each time, came back home with it, and ironed and ironed and ironed the uniform until, if I had been the uniform, I would have said aloud that I had enough. So, here slowly, if you see that there is a change in behavior in Nana, and she is actually supporting Adjoa by ironing her clothes and also washing her uniform. Wearing my school uniform this week has been very nice. At the parade the first afternoon, it caught the rays of the sun and shone brighter than everybody else's uniform. So she's saying she stood out from everyone because it was washed and ironed so much. So it shows the acceptance of Nana is making her stand out. I'm sure Nana saw that too and must have liked it. Nana's liking that Adjoa has done something wonderful. Yes, she has been coming into town with us every afternoon of this district sports week. Each afternoon, she has pulled one set of fresh old clothes from her big brass bowl to wear. And those old clothes are so stiffly starched that you could hear the clothes creak when she passed by. But she walks way behind us school children as though she was on her own way to some place else. So when it is stiffly starched, it shows that she's a very strong-headed woman. But she is now getting to accept and support Adjoa. Yes, I have won every race I ran for my school, and I have won the cup for the best all-round junior athlete. Yes, Nana said that she didn't care if such things are not done. She would do it. You know what she did? She carried the gleaming cup on her back like they do with babies and other very precious things. And this time, not taking the trouble to walk by herself. So before, if you see, she was walking behind, but now she is walking with them with the cup. So this cup has been a one which challenged the traditional views of people that think that thin legs are not useful and will not help her bear children. When we arrived in our village, she entered our compound to show the cup to my mother before going to give it back to the headmaster. Oh, grown-ups are so strange. Nana is right now carrying me on her knee and crying softly, muttering, muttering, muttering that thin legs can be useful. Thin legs can also be useful. That even though some legs don't have much meat on them to carry hips, they can run. Thin legs can run. Then who knows? So she's saying that her traditional views that thin legs are not useful has been challenged, and now she believes that they are useful. I don't know too much about such things, but that's how I was feeling and thinking all along. That surely one should be able to do things well with legs as well as have them because they can support hips that make babies. Except that I was afraid to say that sort of thing aloud because someone would have told me never, never, but never to repeat such words. So she said I could have said that, but people would shut me out. So rather than saying something, I did it and showed them. Or else they would have laughed so much at what I would say and they would have cried. So they would have cried laughing at me, but now they are proud of me. They are proud of my accomplishments. It's much better this way to have acted it out to show them, although I could not have planned it. She's saying I'm too young to have planned and showed them, but destiny has come in a way to show them. As for my mother, she has been speechless as usual. So the story also shows the generational gap where Nana is all narrow minded and believes that a woman's societal expectation is only motherhood and also to be able to carry children. Whereas, as the mother, though she does not say much, she has a perspective that her daughter should have a progressive future, she should have education, and the kind of legs don't matter. Don't forget to watch the multiple choice questions of the short story and also the summary. Take good care of your health. All the very best. Thank you.